know, they're incredible, the way they come back year in, year out. You'd have to be very disappointed for Galway. And, you know, what was strange, it was a complete game of two halves. The very same, I said it during the commentary, as last year's final. Galway just didn't come out in the second half. They played brilliantly in the first half. They should have been maybe 5 or 6 points further ahead, or 4 or 5 points further ahead at half-time. They didn't do it, left Kilkenny in the game, and they took over in the second half.
Let's go down to the sideline to Claire McNamara with TJ Reid.
TJ, congratulations, another All-Ireland medal for you. How does this one taste?
Unbelievable. Listen to the crowd. You know, this is everything. You know, when you put your bodies on the line, you train for 10 months of the year, all for today. And to win this All-Ireland is unbelievable, so it is. Unbelievable.
You got a goal in the first half, but a huge second half performance from Kilkenny.
Yeah, I suppose at half-time we realised our first half wasn't good enough, and it wasn't, so we knew we had to up the pace in the second half. We done that, I think, and I think from 1 to 15 the subs came on, a massive effort, and it's unbelievable.
So many big names left this team last year, but you still have that belief, that confidence, that composure.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's a big talented bunch of players still there, and we're here for a long time, so we are.
You're never tired of climbing those steps to the Hogan stand.
Unbelievable, can't wait.
Congratulations, TJ.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, he had a terrific match. TJ Reid from Ballyhale, his 9th All-Ireland final. 3 of those as a sub, and 1 goal and 7 points this afternoon. Up there on Hill 16, the little encampment there of Kilkenny fans, because by and large Hill 16 belong to Galway fans today. They will be bitterly disappointed. Now there's Jackie Tyrrell we saw a moment ago there. He had a really tough training session on Friday night last in Nolan Park and passed that fitness test, and had he been required, Jackie Tyrrell would have been able to go in there and play his part. And there's the Liam McCarthy Cup, what it's all about. And Joey Holden, now a teacher in Kilkenny City Vocational School, captaining the team, and he's the 11th captain in the Brian Cody era to go up there and receive that cup. It's quite astonishing. Owen Larkin's waiting for us as well. Let's have a quick word with him.
Owen Larkin, congratulations. How do you keep doing it?
I think it's Brian Cody has a big factor in it, but the players are just so unbelievably motivated to keep winning. And there's a good few young lads after coming in there and freshen things up. But by God, they came of age today.
Because you didn't have the best of the first half, 3 points down at half-time. What did Brian say?
Not a whole lot. We knew we weren't after playing well in the first half, so we knew ourselves we had to up it. But in fairness to the players at half-time, everybody to a man, subs and all, the whole panel, we all rode in behind each other, and what a second half.
I suppose everybody is in awe of the hunger and the drive that is in this team year after year.
Yeah, well, that's it, you know. Brian has always said that careers come and go, and you have to make the best of things while you're there. And we've certainly done that over the last number of years, and we're continuing to do so, thanks be to God.
You've got another one. Congratulations, Owen.
Thanks a million, Claire.
Truly remarkable. Another joyous occasion for Brian Cody and the Cats. A day to be savoured, part of a golden era which players and fans I know are relishing. The Kilkenny success story goes on and on. Now time for the presentation. Oh, there's a nice little scene there with Richie Power.
Richie
Power.
can't deny that young fella anyway. The red hair.
Taoiseach, Ard Siúrthóir agus a Cáride Gael. Cén míle fáilte go Park an Crocaigh, Sulagin gur bhainte Longtail as an Cléir Ítach a bhí agin a rís an seo inniu. While an bhuíochas an Cumann a Coranú an Oriacht a Hayanmhaid ó Liberty Insurance, Centra agus Etihad. Comaigh le sin, míle bhuíochas don Rachel James Owens, go Fairlína agus na Hifigí go léir. Clíthe Brass Sportsúil, Clé Ítach Bríomhar a bhí agin a rís, míle bhuíochas don Darden. We send our congratulations to Wincher na Galway. Galway contributed to yet another thrilling All-Ireland hurling final. Míle bhuíochas don Ireland na Galway. But the Liam McCarthy Cup is heading once again back to the banks of the Nore in Kilkenny. agus Hartan coming to last game Curtin Ahas and Down or Maurice on Curtin Shaw of running or on captain or on Lairker special to Shin Joey as Ballyhale Shamrocks.
GAA President Eogona Farrell presents the Liam McCarthy Cup now to the Kilkenny captain Joey Holden. The Cats are once again the champions. Champions for the 36th time. Undisputably the game's best in 2015. Cue the celebrations. What an afternoon. 14 points in the second half for his team. Michael Fennelly plays his part.
It'll be a reflection of the team that was picked. I don't think he likes to show any weakness. Like at half-time today, there were 3 down. A lot of lads not playing well, but he gave them all 15 or 20 minutes again, and then they improved them right. And that shows great confidence in your players. Like as a player, that's what you want. You want your manager to support you, to back you, to have confidence in you. And if he does, then you'll reciprocate. And he obviously has a great relationship. There's a healthy respect. There's a little bit of fear, I know, from the players, but they respect the man greatly. He respects them greatly. But at the end of the day, Kilkenny hurling is bigger than any of them, and that's what he would drive home to them.
And this man here, Richie Hogan, we were talking about him in the build-up so many times. People talking about Richie Hogan, TJ Reid. Now he came in with a bad injury, and yet hampered even by that, they still won. Yeah, he scored a couple of points, but normally he'd be much more influential. He had a bad back injury, he had a quad injury, he hasn't trained. Owen Larkin had a broken thumb. I think he only got the cast off last Wednesday. So they had all that stuff going on. They still managed to get it done, and that's what they do. They get the job done. Galway will be very disappointed. They'll be very disappointed at the way the second half went. They played so well in the first half, so much going for them, and just didn't turn up in the second half. Kilkenny put them away very easily in the end. Well, it's a familiar setting, a familiar scene. Kilkenny are the champions once again.
And in the commentary box this afternoon were Ger Canning and Michael Dignan. Henry Shefflin, when we were looking at the celebration pictures there, the old squeeze song Cool for Cats playing in the background, and it certainly has been a cool day for the Cats.
Yeah, no, look, first of all, I just want to congratulate Joey and all the lads and all the management team. Obviously, I have some very good friends there, so I'm absolutely thrilled. I know a lot of the public will say, oh, it's Kilkenny again, but look, for me, they have been the best. They're the best this year, and I think sometimes we have to say, hands up, they are the best team there around. And I think the players themselves, people don't realise everyone wants to take that crown off, and everyone is fighting very hard to take that crown off. And for them to continuously be successful is the hallmarks of a great team. So I know and I do the same in other sports. I love to see the underdogs win.
Yeah, sure.
But I think sometimes you just have to take your hat off. And at half-time here today, we were thinking, Cyril was there. I know Cyril was a bit worried, but he was probably thinking, is this our day? But so like Kilkenny, so like Brian Cody's era, the pressure came on and they stood up. Galway didn't stand up, and it's probably because of the tradition not being used to it. But Kilkenny really stood up, and the intensity levels just went up a ratchet in the second half, as TJ said in his post-match interview. And that was the difference, and they just bombed ahead. They scored 14 points in the second half. Galway scored 1-4.
Yeah.
And that is different. And as well, we said at the beginning of the game, the spread of forward scores. Kilkenny had 9 scores, Galway had 5 or 6 scores. And that was the difference between the two teams. And worthy champions. And I'm absolutely delighted on a personal level for all the lads involved.
I'm sure you are. Anthony, Galway tried their best. Liam Sheedy was sitting beside me watching that match, and he said to me in the second half, he says, it's like a war zone out there. But, when it came to the crunch.
Well, Michael, sometimes I don't know what happens in dressing rooms at half-time, but that reminded me, that second half, of a bit like that great movie, The Perfect Storm, where the boys could have taken the handy route and gone out around the storm, but they seemed to wade into the storm. And you will not beat them up the funnel, up the middle. Mick Fennelly, Joyce, these fellas, Conor Fogarty, what a warrior in the middle. And I'm just surprised that Galway didn't try and keep width to their play, keep it wide, but like Henry nearly sounds a bit apologetic about Kilkenny winning it again, but no, look, there's nothing to apologise for. They're the best team by a good bit and have been for a long, long time.
Sir, you're disappointed,
Yeah.
I know, but I suppose
like at half-time,
also acknowledging the fact that Kilkenny, as you said, were the better team.
Best team by mile. They got 14 points in the second half, Galway got 1-4. Like we said at half-time, Galway needed to drive on, especially the first 10 minutes second half. Galway went in 3 points up, and instead of that, first 10 minutes was all Kilkenny to come back level, 2 points, 3 points, 2 points. Well, next thing, they're gone in front. And Galway were hanging on, and as Anthony said, just kind of down the middle. Kind of structure went out of it, but the more it went on, the more tighter it got, and the more physical it got, Kilkenny got on top. And again, like,
They got 14 scores the second half, Galway got 1-4, like 14 points, it's a lot. Okay, Galway took the bad look at the goal near the end, but like the game was petering out. A few times Galway took the wrong options, like young Whelan tried very hard, couldn't through, took the wrong options. He's very young, but we just never got to the pace the way we had in the first half. It was important to keep it physical, but you had to keep hurling as well. And I think Galway got kind of dragged down, but the best team won. And look at, sitting here this evening, they have 2 in a row now, they'll be going for 3 in a row. And look at, as we sit here, there's going to be money on, and like, you know, Joe Holden there referred to Henry there and he's Irish there, that maybe people say when Henry gone the spirit will be gone, but it's not gone, because the Kilkenny jersey is bigger than any Henry or Richie Hogan came off again today, like, you know, and got his 2 points maybe injured. The jersey is bigger than anyone. They have that tradition, they're handing it on, and these guys, it's up to the Galways, the Clares, Limericks, Corks and everyone else to get back up there and at them again. And it's not an easy job. Galway will be disappointed with their second half. They tried hard, but like, they'll have to just admit that the best team won. There's no ifs or buts about it.
If you're just looking back into the 90s, Henry, pre this era of Kilkenny, you know, 99 it was Cork, 98 it was Offaly, 97 it was Clare, 96 it was Wexford and so on. You know, so this just isn't a gimme. These are special days for Kilkenny hurling.
Yeah, very much so. And like, I grew up, and a lot of those players grew up in that era of watching those great teams, and we don't give it as a gimme. And I think that's the great thing about them, is that they will enjoy themselves. They'll celebrate like any other team will celebrate, and Kilkenny public in general. But those players will have a great few days ahead of them. Yeah, something they'll always remember. But come their holiday being over in January, they are as hungry as the other team, and without that hunger and Brian's hunger, you know, saw him talking to Mick there at the end of the match, and I was joking to the boys, he's probably giving out about something that happened during the game, but he wasn't happy about it.
Yeah, he also said, Michael, that the Ballyhill lads wouldn't be back training until Thursday.
I told him Thursday week.
He's really wearing the club players hat now.
That's the way it goes. It goes on to the club championship. But no, to be honest, and they will go out in the club championship, and I think that's the secret, that hunger is there. But it comes from Brian down, and you know, they will come back and they will be hungry, and if you're not hungry, you won't be in Brian's team. It's as simple as that. And I think that's at the start and that's the end for him, and I think that's why they have been so successful.
Midway through the second half, Anthony, you were looking, and actually you said it, sir, you know, Galway need a goal here. You could see the game. It was a little bit like the semi-final with Waterford. You know, Waterford were battling their hearts out, but it was just gradually slipping away from them.
Yeah, it took a very similar pattern actually to that game. And you know, before we realised that they were level, the 3 points, you didn't hardly feel them going over, you know. But we kind of nudged each other. Level game now, and you know, they just sensed that, and they sensed that the time is there to kick on. There's a vulnerability now in Galway. If we kick on and we get 3 ahead, the heads will drop, and a few little things, Galway, a few shots.
Choked them as well, like, you know, the middle, as you were saying, Anthony, like with the balls going to be, Kilkenny kind of crowded in rightly, so kind of choked the life of them and got it back up and got great scores. And we could kind of, you could see it happen, you could sense it happen before it happened, and the next thing was really gone. I know the goal kind of takes a bad look at for God, but like, Kilkenny won that game well indeed, there's no doubt about that.
All right, we are headed for a short break here on the programme. More on the 2015.
But at half-time, did you give out to them? Did you say, lads, you need to shape up a bit?
I know, I mean, I was saying in the first half that Galway played really, really well, put fierce pressure on us, and you know, it's for certain the players themselves would have felt and knew they had to really pick it up, like, and look for more from themselves, and they did that. But I thought the reaction, the response was magnificent. I thought, you know, the drive they showed, the spirit they showed, their attitude in the second half was magnificent, and you know, they drove forward and we got great scores, and you know, we've come out of the right side of it.
And what is it, Brian, that opening 15 minutes of the second half, you do it consistently?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, it was the sense that, you know, we got a bit of time at half time to get lads to get their heads around it again and just, you know, look for more from each other, and that's what they did really. And you know, they drove it on, and we got a few early scores in the second half. Suddenly it was level, and then we pushed on from there, and you know, we were never led after that really, I think.
For you personally, 11th All-Ireland title as manager, it's incredible really. You must be so happy.
Actually, look, I mean, I don't think about 11 or whatever it is like that. Like, it's just a question of this year's one, and you fight to get there. You started the year, it's your ambition every year to try and get there, and the years just keep rolling by, all right. But today's victory was so hard here, and like, I think it was very, very sweet.
Well done, Brian Cody. Well done, Kilkenny, because Kilkenny are the All-Ireland champions.
He's talking to Claire McNamara.
Anthony, the wait goes on for Galway. No stopping the Kilkenny machine.
No, unfortunately we came out, you know, second best there in the second half, having had a nice lead there at half time. This was, you know, congratulations to Kilkenny. They're a better team there in the second half. You know, we just few enforced errors there really. Only returned 1-4 in the second half, but no fault to any of our players. Give some effort and some battle there. Few enforced errors there in the second half. Maybe a couple of decisions went against us there at the start of the second half. And Kilkenny, we know, with all their experience and their guile and their craft and a tremendous team, punished us.
Because it had looked so good for you, hadn't it, in that first half? Despite the TJ Reid goal, you were very much on top and 3 clear. Why do you think there was that drop off then in the intensity and you couldn't push on in the second half?
Well, as I said, just we had a couple of chances and maybe another day they'd have gone over. Maybe a couple of Cyril was through there at the start of the second half and he got pulled. He got pulled down and just the free for some reason went the other way. But overall, they really upped their game and we were nil to match in the second half. But we tried our damnedest there and you've got to stay in the game and we just forced errors there that maybe another day we wouldn't have.
I suppose you needed something special there in the closing stages. Joe Canning's goal came that bit too late.
Absolutely. And I think we had 1 or 2 goal chances before that, and if they'd come 5 minutes earlier, it would have been some finish because we always felt we'd get a goal. But just that bit of experience that Kilkenny have, and they're champions and worthy champions. But I have to say we gave everything. Our guys have given it everything all year. We've had a super year, and we'll live to fight another day.
Yeah, it has been a great year. Beating Cork, beating Tipperary. I suppose people felt there was great hope in Galway that you were so well placed.
Yeah, and I think saw some brilliant hurling there today again from our team, and I just feel so sorry for the players and for our supporters, who've come from all over the world and from every county in Ireland. Park Kilkenny has backed us today, and it's so hard to take, but that's sport, that's how difficult it is, and we do need to up it another notch or two.
Because you fought to stay on at the end of last year, didn't you? You knew, I suppose, potential that was in this team. You wanted to stay on. That's a journey you'll continue to keep growing this team.
Absolutely. These guys, they will stay going to the win in Ireland. It's in them. The hurling is there, and it's just a matter of patience, really, and keep working at the game again.
Okay, Anthony, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, to another Anthony here in the studio. He's clearly a shattered man after all that. And he mentioned a couple of times, he praised the effort the players put in, but talked about a few unforced errors.
Unforced errors and a couple of decisions that went against them, and I thought there was a few dodgy decisions. I'd have to say, Michael, I don't think it would have affected the overall outcome. Kilkenny were going to see this out and win it anyway, but Johnny Cohen should have saw red, and was there a bit of balance in the books involved with a couple of dodgy calls? I found them hard to figure now. We'd want to see them again in the video, to be fair to the referee, but I thought there was a few things. But look, it wouldn't have affected the overall outcome. I think Kilkenny were going to see this out either way and get the result, and that's the kind of thing that they'll force you into a lot of these mistakes as well. Their intensity.
Let's hear next from the winning side, Colin Fennelly. He's talking to Claire.
Colin, congratulations. What does this one mean to you?
Everyone gets sweeter, I suppose. Started back in 2011, and that was after Tipperary beating us the year before. It was my first year there, and to think what happened in the last few years was absolutely amazing. And they do get sweeter; it's unbelievable.
They do get sweeter, do they? I mean, everybody wonders, I suppose. We ask it every year, it seems, what keeps driving these players, this group on?
Probably just keeping our heads down, I suppose. When you go back to your clubs, you have to go back and play your best with them, and you're starting all over again. And we just take it step by step. You come to the Welsh Cup, League, Everton, and it just motivates you towards winning All Ireland. And I suppose winning the last 2 years, you know the success is there and you know what you want, and it's a massive aim, so it is. And we do pretty much the same every year, and we have to build because other teams are building too. And it's amazing to get there in the end.
And it doesn't seem to matter who steps off the stage. We saw who departed last year, but it doesn't seem to matter what the personnel is, the result, the outcome is the same.
No, there's a strategy there, and bring in all the new lads, I suppose, and keep the filtering coming in, and lads going out, let's say Tommy Welsh and them, like the speech they made last year, and that brings on to the new lads. And let's say Jackie Turrell half-time, the speech he made was absolutely amazing. And Jackie maybe on 2 years left maybe, and just speeches like that, and young lads hearing that coming on, it's amazing. So it is like speech at half-time is absolutely unbelievable.
That was in the dressing room at half-time,
yeah. He spoke to us all. He spoke for about a minute or two, and every word he said, he had the hair standing in the back of my spine there. It was unbelievable, he said.
So did he do all the talking? Did Brian talk?
We have our time to ourselves, so we do, and we have a quick chat ourselves. And he spoke, so we did. Richie Power spoke, and Michael Fennelly spoke, and probably the three senior lads of the team, and they spoke very well. And whatever they said went through to us, so we did. And we came out in the second half, and we did the business.
Yeah, whatever they said certainly did seem to work. What was that step up in the second half?
It was what Galway were probably doing to us in the first half. They were squeezing us to the last, and we had no room up the forwards. Trying to figure out exactly what was wrong. It's hard to put your finger on it. And we did that in the second half, and we ran at them, and we created the freeze, so we did in the scores. And TJ Reid was phenomenal on the freeze today, and he's phenomenal all year, so he is for us.
So back training on Thursday, is it?
We're back training for the clubs. We're training for the championship next Sunday, so we'll enjoy our few days definitely, and especially over Christmas we will come back together and meet up and all that, and we'll see each other with the club matches and after club matches. So we won't ever be apart anyway. That's one thing for sure.
Congratulations on your success.
Thank you very much.
See, sorry, Farrell, it's all Jackie Turrell's fault.
Well, he would be a born leader. I knew from college, and he would be a leader. And if you notice there, the guys, it was all the guys, Jackie Turrell, Michael Fennelly, Richie Power. It just shows you, Brian Cody spoke as well, I know well. But second half, the forwards into the positions, the hurler fought hard, carried it, but the three boys are leaders. It just shows you the pride in the jersey. And as they say, okay, Jackie says we're number 4, he's passing that jersey on. It's the next generation, and that's what makes them so hard to beat. And again, Colin Fennelly referred to it there. They're playing, is it Mullinavat next Sunday? This fella played a game yesterday against Turles Sarsfield. He's stiff here beside us all day. So it's back to, okay.
Just a point of case, they have to tug it out, and next thing they're up playing, and no fear of them at all, playing in front of the biggest crowd.
I hate saying it, but it's a bit like the All Blacks at this stage. The jersey's just handed over, you're an All Black now. I just hate saying it, but there's a hint of that in it.
There's more than a hint.
Well, look, Galway fans would have taken a lot of encouragement from that first half performance, Anthony, and the way they chased Kilkenny around the place and didn't let them get out sometimes with the ball. But in fact, in the second half, it was Kilkenny who were doing that.
Yeah, and I think, Michael, Henry highlighted at half-time Colm Callan's puck-outs. Fellas running out of the middle, they just sucked them into what I call the funnel when you're playing Kilkenny. You just don't take them on down these channels, because we saw Waterford trying to do it in the semi-final. You won't win overall in the combat zone there. You see no space there. Jason Finn was loose there for a flick outside, and they engaged in the tackle. See here, there's a great graphic here of where no player at all, and they absolutely love it. Paul Murphy and his likes, Joey Holden, they glory in that. That's just, whereas Galway needed a guy hugging the touchline, and he has to be marked. You can't leave him over there on his own, because he'll pop it over the bar. So you've got to go out with your man if you're a wing back. But they're all sucked into that funnel in the middle, and it chokes the life out of teams.
But that's a bit of experience as well, because the more experienced players will tell, get out, get the shape.
And they just forgot about what got them 3 points
Yeah, but
up.
Anthony, I'd say as well at half-time, to be fair, Kilkenny weren't happy at half-time. Yeah, right. And Henry referred to in the first half. They weren't holding their shape. Kilkenny were switched around there, and they don't usually do that. The second half, they got into the positions. I'm talking about the forwards now. And they started picking off. They got 14 points the second half. They scored, what was it, 1-8 the first half, 9 scores. The 14 points, it's a lot of, with a lot of belting and hooking and blocking going on.
Credit Kilkenny, sir, but I still think Galway contributed a fair bit to the run downfall in the second half.
I know that, but you'd have to say Kilkenny finished very strong. Galway would be very disappointed. They only scored, what was it, about the second half? 1-4. Always gone. That's not going to win any other.
No. In the Leinster final, TJ Reid scored an important goal for Kilkenny against Galway. Did the same thing in the first half here today, Henry?
And the same thing in the first half of the semi-final when they weren't going very well. Kilkenny were going okay at this period of time, actually. It was after this TJ got the goal. But look, to be fair, he won more breaking balls today. Didn't score as much from play, but the ball was stuck to him. And today, look at him running from the outside. Johnny Cohen was a bit slow, and next thing, TJ's in, and he's peeled off. And just for any young fella watching the game, look, once he got the ball in his hand, as Anthony said at half-time, there was no missing it. Down into the ground, into the bottom corner. And to be honest, more than likely, he's going to be the hurler of the year this year. He has been a major addition to Kilkenny. He struggled to get on the Kilkenny team for a number of years. I remember being down the field in Ballyhale when I was starting out, and he used to be coming off the bus in St. Kieran's College to hit back the freeze to me, and it's gone full circle now, so I'm absolutely thrilled for him. But that goal was critical, because if we'd went in, we hadn't had that goal, we'd only scored 1-8, I think, so it got us to 11 points. They hang in there, and then they drive on the second half.
A little bit of credit, Michael, where it's due to John Hanbury.
Yes.
We criticised him at half-time for maybe a little mistake there. He should have hooshed the ball to the side or covered the ball. He had a great second half. I thought he had a tremendous second half. And so had Pádraig Mannion after a torrid enough semi-final. Great credit due to them. And they're new players on the block. And for Galway, their minors had a great win today as well. And
that's right.
As Cyril says, you just have to keep going. Either give up or keep going.
See, this is the thing, sir, from a Galway point of view. Keep going. You mentioned the team that you managed, losing a couple of All-Irelands, but then came back and put it right. One of the things with Galway the last couple of years, after the 2012 final against Kilkenny, people said, you know, that it's a start. They should move on from there, and instead went backwards.
Yeah, and the big thing is, I think, is for the county board or hurling board, it was over to get him behind the management team and the team now. Tonight, like, it's going to be lonely. You know what I mean? It's lonely on the fields of at the rights. It's going to be lonely. It's lonely for the winners. The winner takes it all. That's the fact of life at this end of the sport. But they have to get back out hurling again. The clubs, as soon as they can, back into they're in the Welsh Cup. But they have to get back again and maybe kind of find a new player, find a few new players that are there. Like, you know, they did win the minor. They're too young yet. But like, it's all about work. And you know, sometimes you could say, what did you do different? It might be just train a bit smarter and get one or two new lads on it. A year can change, but the big thing for Galway is that they're back there again next year. That's the hardest part. Like, you know, like you look at other teams, Clare won an All-Ireland, next thing hasn't heard it since. Cork got beaten, very unlucky, say, the drawing game against Clare, kind of gone off the radar. They're saying there's no hurling in Cork, which is crazy. Cork won the under 14, 15, 16, was it 17? Tournaments the weekend, and then you're told there's no hurling going on in Cork. Like, it's crazy. And I think they won the B as well, did they?
Won every B.
Yeah,
won all
it's
seven.
to be involved. I'm just saying to you, there's hurling going on everywhere. But like, it's lovely, and the supporters love winners. But the point is, if you're a real supporter, you have to get behind the losing team as well. I know now these guys are winning so often. They have won more than Clare and Galway put together, even since his time. They have 10. He has 10 All-Irelands won. We have 10 won between Clare and Galway. That's reality.
Yes.
So like, it's hard to get up there. I would love to see Galway back there next year, but the thing is to have to work hard and keep the same, get few other players in, but keep working. And big aim is get back there next year.
Okay, so no All-Ireland for Galway, but here on the Sunday Game Live, it is competition time. The Hurling Championship 2015. Overall thoughts?
Not a great one. I don't think overall. Like, it's okay. You can't take. Kilkenny did everything that was asked of them. You can't take a morsel away from them. But save for the semi-final, we didn't get any real classics. Today was tough, tense, you know, but it never opened up really as a classic. So I think it was disappointing enough year in terms of we didn't get the trills and spills of last year, maybe.
Yeah, and you saw the championship from a different perspective this year.
Yeah, and we worked in the first game was Clare and Limerick, and we were expecting a gung-ho game, and it never materialised. And to be honest, there was a lot of tactics early in the year. The sweeper system came in, and there was never only bar that semi-final game. I would agree with you, Kilkenny. Every game Kilkenny played in it, they played to the top level. It was just teams can't get up to that level with them, and you know, there was a lot of teams disappointed. Limerick, like Cyril was talking about, it's a long way back for Galway to get back here to September next year.
Sure.
Limerick felt they were very close. They didn't push on this year, so every other team will come into the reckoning again next year. But overall, I think the Hurling Championship was okay. It wasn't a standout year, bar the Gimmer the semi-final. But I think the Kilkenny were worthy winners.
But Michael, I think as well you have to realise, like the boys will tell you when they're playing or managing. Henry is going to manage yet. I know you want classics, but if you're over a team, if Galway were playing today, and if it's 3 points to 2 and Galway were 3 points into the game, you're quite happy going home. The history books will show you have won. The classics are lovely, and like with the sweeper in it closes things down. You know, Galway won a championship this year, minor, no one thought it'd be anything. With a young Loftus lad playing sweeper all the time, good at it. This lad saw him playing, you know, early on in challenge games, very good at it. You kind of have to, you know, you make what you have, but like, and you reap what you sow. But like, you try to win, the winner takes it all. Like, to me, it hasn't been a classic, but like down on the pitch, like Kilkenny, it might be a classic. They're happy. They're going home thrilled, and they don't give a fiddlers, and Galway will be going home sad.
Yeah. Who will next year, looking ahead at this stage of the competition, who might just step forward?
Are you looking for a new team?
Yes, a new team. Yes.
Well, I'd say, like, my own county. Michael, you know, we're champions, the last champions besides Kilkenny, and have had a couple of disappointing seasons, but they'll be really looking. There's a lot of young talent, and they will be looking to step up. The likes of Limerick, Waterford. You know, Waterford had a great season. Yeah. They had a great season from where they came from, so they'll really look to build on that.
Whatever about a new team, we know who the current team are, and their manager is Brian Cody.
Brian, congratulations. A very familiar September scene out there, I suppose, for Kilkenny. There's no knocking you off the top.
Look, I mean, we're absolutely thrilled, obviously. You know, the first half, Galway were outstanding. They really hit us. They really knocked us back in different ways. And, you know, we struggled to get into a rhythm, I suppose, really, but we went in at half-time 3 points down, and that's not a bad position to be in. I thought the response of our players the second half was magnificent. I thought sort of relentless spirit and attitude, and Hurling obviously did the show. It was top class, and, you know, it was a hard-fought victory, but it was a very, very sweet one, there's no doubt about that.
Clearly panic is not something that is ever experienced in a Kilkenny dressing room at half-time.
Look, I mean, the players themselves, you know, they would be they would demand very high standards of each other and of themselves, you know, and they demanded that, and we all demand that from ourselves. And, you know, the second half, the half time was about making sure there was an absolute resolve there to get in there and just pick up our standards in all aspects of the play, like, and I think that, you know, the response spoke for itself.
Your 11th title as a manager, absolutely astonishing. Given the fact that so many departing heroes last year, does that help to rank this one as sweet, or how do you rank them? How do you take stock of them all?
Look, right now it's a brilliant one.
Just 5 players, 5 massive leaders, you know. I mean, Henry and the lads. I mean, JJ Delaney, that was immense last year in the final. And it just seems to be business as usual. I mean, Brian Cody and the whole of the Kilkenny backroom team deserve huge credit, you know, to see that this is a team that have won 11 of the last 16 finals. It's just an unbelievable record. And so every year you're thinking, God, maybe that group of players that leaves now, the dressing room will be a much weaker place. Yeah. But I mean, it just keeps coming through again. And as I said, as a county, as the team, Brian Cody, they deserve massive credit. I mean, they've just taken it to a whole new level. And all of the others are really struggling to get up with them.
They are. And Ger, not taking from Kilkenny in any way, they were better, but at half-time there was a great buzz. Galway were leading, their fans were buzzing. It died away as a game in the second half.
It did, yeah. What surprised me about Galway was how they started today. You know, they started really well. They stretched the Kilkenny defence. Their use of the ball was very good. They matched Kilkenny physically. 14 points, like against Kilkenny, is a great score for half-time, and holding them to 1-8. Now, I suppose the second half can only be described as a collapse by Galway, a mental collapse by Galway. Now, it was also helped by Kilkenny upping their game, upping the physicality. They're great players, they're great leaders coming to the fore, using the ball much better. But like everybody knows the way Kilkenny play in the second half, you know, and Galway behaved as if this was totally unexpected. And, you know, Kilkenny just, the relentless, all the great things, you know, all the characteristics that Brian Cody has constantly emphasised about team play, all came to the fore in that second half. And they were just utterly dominant in the second half. So, you know, it was a thoroughly deserved win for Kilkenny. But having said that, it was very disappointing how Galway faded out of the game.
OK, well, we're going to look at that, obviously, with the lads presently. But in the meantime, let's head to Michael at the Kilkenny Team Hotel. Well, Michael, a sense of déjà vu.
Right on there, Michael.
There's no doubt about that, Des, I can tell you. And maybe on that point it's worth mentioning to Brian Cody, who's here with us at the moment, that anytime I do the pre-match interviews with you, Brian Cody, you end up winning the All-Ireland. I forgot not to do them this year. Joy Holden, the team captain, is with us here as well. The people here, Des, in the hall have been watching the highlights, of course, and watching the Sunday game, and a great cheer and round of applause when the match finished. Although the biggest cheer so far has been for Brian Cody when he was getting a bit of powder put on for the interview. Brian, congratulations to you, obviously.
Thanks,
once again. Kilkenny have won 34 All-Ireland titles, 11 of them in your time. You have to be very proud of that.
Look, today is about today's win, Michael, obviously, you know, and there's no point in talking about other ones. Today was a really excellent victory because we were pushed so strongly. In the first half, Galway brought immense pressure to the game, you know, and they really drove us back. As
applauded in. There were quite a lot of fellas limping and looking a bit crocked. I presume the Galway fellas are something the same.
Yeah, like we knew Galway would be a physical team. I suppose lads would be a bit sore. I suppose if you want to see it, maybe tune into Richie Hogan's Twitter. You'll surely have a broken nail up in the morning or something like that. He's always looking for a few more followers, so he'll be the man to follow.
Richie obviously getting a bit of a slagging from his teammates at the moment, but he played another important role today, Brian.
Well, Richie Hogan's biggest achievement, Michael, to be fair, and nobody knows anything about it, was beyond the field of play. I know. Before the Waterford game, Richie suffered a serious back injury, just fought, like he'd fights to get onto the field. But we said nothing about it, but Richie tore a quad muscle 2 weeks ago. And that's a 4 to 6 week injury in reality. And, you know, so few people are capable of putting in just the sheer mental resolve to get onto the pitch. And you know what Richie Hogan does and what he did over the past number of weeks, from the point of view of a semi-final and final, and to contribute what he contributed on both days, staggering really, to be honest about it.
Oh, fair play to him. It was a great performance, there's no doubt about that. Brian, often on occasions like this, when a fella's the losing manager, people say to him, are you going to quit at this stage? Are you going to continue?
They often say that, Michael, you're dead right about that, for sure, yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'll probably keep saying it, but you'll be the first to know. I'll tweet you straight away, don't worry.
I can tell you now, Brian, if you are there next year, which I am no doubt you will, if you're playing Galway in the final, I'm not coming down to the interview, by the way. Thank you very much indeed to Brian and to Joey. Congratulations to both of you. Des, obviously, a lot more from the City West Hotel later in the programme.
Well, they're all in flying form there, there's no doubt about that. I look forward to Brian Cody's tweets. Interesting, he paying tribute to Richie Hogan there, because he has been a key player, hasn't he, lads?
Yeah, phenomenal player over the last couple of years. You know, I know a lot is made of his size, but the reality is he's probably one of the smallest players on the field, but his heart, like Brian Cody was saying there, is as big as any heart on a sporting field.
All right. Well, let's go to our analysis, gentlemen. Now, Liam, Galway, first of all, let's give them credit. Their first half performance was fantastic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic. And, you know, I suppose everyone coming into the game was saying to Galway, you've got to get out of the blocks here and not give Kilkenny a stronghold on the game. And, you know, they'd done that for long periods in that first half. And I suppose, look, Andy Smith had probably one of his quieter afternoons, but you see he'd given a great ball in, and they managed to get, you know, Joey Holden isolated one-on-one with Joe Canning. You know, Joe Canning, for a big man, he showed a great turn there and, you know, smashed the ball over the bar. And, like, it really started to flow for them. And, you know, in fairness to the Galway crowd, they were so much behind their team. And, you know, you've seen this battling qualities. We've probably seen it in the semi-final. And Joe Canning eventually, originally made the tackle, and he had popped outside, and, you know, Conor Whelan spotted him, and he banged the ball back over the bar. And, like, Joe Canning had 8 plays in that first half. That was 7 points, 4 from frees and 3 from play. So he was a key man. And likewise, Colm Callan, you know, from the puck out, they were really looking to find their man, and you've seen there where Sir Donlan had got in a one-on-one situation, and, you know, everything seemed to be working so well for them. And, you know, again, here they are, Joe Canning out, you know, breaking into the tackle, winning the free, and Joey Holden picking the ball up off the ground. And this is a great passage of play again. This is probably one of the scores of the game, you know. You know, the way he brought that ball down, it was absolutely fabulous by Jason Flynn. You know, I mean, that's class at that level, and to do that on the biggest day of all, I think speaks volumes of the guy. You know, he's really made a massive impression. But when they look back in that first half, you know, they went in, they scored 14 points, played really, really well. They had 7 wides, you know, and you really can't, you have to take all of your chances. And again, Conor Whelan won a great ball on the edge of the square. Joe Canning was making the run on the inside. You know, if they had to get a goal in that first half, they probably needed to push on a little bit, 6 or 7 ahead. You know, 3 points ahead at half-time. They probably should have been more in front at the break.
Yeah. People said, don't know, Galway have to stop a repeat of Seamus Callan and conceding a lot of goals. They only conceded 1, but you felt you were concerned about the full back line, even though generally they were doing OK.
Yeah, Des, I thought that, you know, that there was a lot of talk coming into the game, like you say, and coming forward, attacking the ball, the Galway full back line did well. But on more than one occasion, we saw this happening, where it was a lot easier ball to play that would have put him under less pressure. You see John Henry going back towards his own goals, gets blocked down. Again, that ball coming pop back, and I was looking at this from the press box and saying, just push it out to, you know, up the line. You're the spare man there. Instead, chose to maybe do the rush thing, clear the ball long, and conceded a point from it. And
should we credit the pressure though from the Kilkenny lads?
Credit the pressure, yeah, but it's basics, to be honest, Des, in terms of there's nothing at all wrong with putting the ball back to the keeper. See here again, John Henry, he's between the ball and Walter Welch. Walter Welch wins the ball off him. Like, he should have been in control of that situation. And if you take a deeper look at it from behind, again, that ball should be going out towards the wing, or even nothing wrong with it again, hitting it back towards the keeper. Walter Welch will be really disappointed. Watch this tackle coming in here from Dahi Burke. This is a poor tackle. And also watch Aidan Hart should have been tracking back. Watch that. Dahi Burke, that's not how you tackle. Aidan Hart might think this is hashing, but if you're putting in place a really top defensive system, that rash tackle wouldn't have been went for, and that man would have come back. And again, there was an example. Irlatanian, a fantastic catch, but a bit more composure, and Galway could have been setting up another attack.
But given that, Ger, it's half-time, Galway are 4 ahead, as Liam said. They might be more ahead, but the big Galway contingent, as Liam said, very vocal. They must have still been feeling good about the second half.
Yeah, and you know, everybody, we were there talking about it at half time. We were saying this is the real chance for Galway now, but it's also the real test for Galway now. And one day we'll find out what happens in the Kilkenny dressing room at half time, because in the first 10 or 15 minutes of that second half, they are always at their most dangerous, and you have to be aware of this. Conor Fogarty there, you see with the first point, but the intensity of their play, how they up the intensity, the physicality, the closing down of the Galway players, not allowing the space that was there in the first half, their use of the ball. Look at Pádraig Welsh there. You know, the level of skill they have in those tight areas is just phenomenal. Now here when TJ Reid gets the ball, look at the far side, the diagonal ball across the field, use again. Look at, there's Richie Hogan, a man who was injured, the quad injury. There he comes up with a crucial point, you know, all setting the tone for the second half. Then we have TJ Reid with a 65. Now the game is level. Now David Collins got a great point in between this for Galway, and he played very, very well in the second half. Now, not alone that, this is more of the onslaught that you get from Kilkenny in that first 10 or 15 minutes. Could have been a goal there, except for Colin Cannon, the goal really, really well. But watch when the ball is recycled again. Look at Owen Larkin, the composure they have. He spots Walter away out the field, and Walter Welsh from the 50-yard line on his own over the bar. It is just relentless. You know, that charge they make in that first 15 minutes is just relentless. And now they're ahead. Now you're in trouble. You know, they've gone from 3 points down, they're a point up, then they go 2 points up, and then you're in real trouble.
Yeah, you made the point that Kilkenny did to Galway in the second half what Galway did to them in the first half.
Yeah, and raised it Des, if you like. You know, in the first half, Liam was showing it there. Galway on top of the game, hitting hard. At one stage we saw, I think it was Owen Larkin being driven out over the line. That doesn't happen too often to Kilkenny players. But for some reason in the second half, Galway didn't come out at all.
Jerry, you picked out one little moment, about a minute of play, to kind of epitomise it.
Well, it just epitomised the difference between the two teams, and you know, Kilkenny's approach. You know, this is around the 52nd minute. You know, he was ferocious tackling in that middle third, and we all knew that's where the battle would be today. Now Kilkenny are 2 points ahead at this stage. Now they're like the spider who has lured the fly into the centre of the web, and when it's there, the fly goes into a frenzy. Whereas the spider waits his time. Look at Kilkenny there. They're just using the ball so well. Galway get a second chance of it, and when they clear it, where did they clear it? Back into right into the centre of the web again from when it came. And physicality. Listen, they love that, Kilkenny. You're not going to overpower them. You know, the ball is cleared again. Now Galway get a second chance. They get the ball again. This is all happening within a 30-metre area. Yeah. You know, David Burke has the ball. Andy Smith is outside him. The pass is not the greatest. Andy has to take the first touch, and his mind is so unclear that he lets the ball go over the sideline. Now contrast that to when Kilkenny are in the other half, in the 45-metre line. Here you have, now give Galway credit here. Their tackling is absolutely brilliant. Their work rate is great, the honesty is great, but Kilkenny are not in a frenzy. They're clear-minded, they're clear-headed, they're looking up. Look when Owen Larkin gets the ball. Out of nowhere, he spots TJ Reid. Larkin moves away, TJ spots him again, he puts the ball over the bar. Yeah. So there you have, in a 1 minute period, really the difference between the two teams. Kilkenny's composure under the more savage of pressure, and Galway, you know, not being used to that kind of pressure, not I suppose having experienced it up to this, going into a frenzy, losing the head, and eventually losing the game.
Yeah. Well, we've given Kilkenny credit, Liam, for how they upped the ante and the pressure. Galway needed leaders in the second half, and they didn't appear really, did they?
No, absolutely. I mean, they needed someone to step up and really grab the game by the scruff of the neck. I mean, you know, in any team to go for 20 minutes in that second half, 9 points to 2 was the score of the game. And you know, Galway just got chances, and they had lost their shape completely. I think they were imposing their structure on Kilkenny in that first half, but in the second half, Kilkenny, they got to grips with how they were set up, and they really put the pressure on. And, you know, you'd have to say that Galway wilted. I mean, you know, here was a perfect situation. Normally Joe Canning would come out to these, and he'd have a cut off it, and, you know, crossfield ball. He was trying to get through 3 or 4 Kilkenny players to get the perfect ball out the far side. It wasn't going to happen. You know, again, Jason Flynn got 4 great points in the first half, one absolutely massive long-range free, but again, short into the goalie's hand. Yeah. And, you know, just too often they had chances, and they didn't take those chances. And, you know, like you know, when you look back in it, you know, this is the 63rd minute, they're 4 points down. Conor Whelan gets in. That's a very, very weak shot at goal. But, like, you know, they did have some chances in the second half. You know, while they were being outplayed, and as Ger said, they were being suffocated by Kilkenny, they didn't really help themselves throughout that second half. And, you know, like, you've just got to convert these chances. You know, if you're going to have a chance against the best team in the country, your conversion rate has to be much, much higher. And like Joe Canning got a routine-free 62nd minute, 117 to 17 points, and you know, the ball went wide. Critical scores like that, and you know, they just never really found that rhythm. But when the need was most, they had no one in that team really to put their hands up and take the game by the scruff of the neck, and they paid a massive price for it.
In terms of lacking leaders, I mean, sometimes momentum goes against the team and everyone struggles to step up and pick it up. Is that a fair point, or is that where we discover who the real men are?
But I think what is underrated as well as is the psychological problem of overcoming Kilkenny. Or, you know, if you have a history of losing big finals, you know, it does leave scars. There is no doubt about that. And you could see that in Galway in the second half.
They've lost five finals in a row.
They've lost 5 finals in a row, you know, and the collateral damage from that was very evident in that second half.
Does that affect young players, though, Ger?
It affects everybody. I'm telling you, it's so, you know, I saw it in our own county, how hard it was, you know, to make that breakthrough. You know, that is, you know, people from Tip and Cork and Kilkenny probably don't understand that, you know. And it's usually when the winning post is in sight that the most doubt creeps in. And I can imagine Galway in the dressing room there at half-time, 14 points scored, 3 points up, going really, really well. You know, then in the second half, that's when you really needed the leaders, you know. And I always say, you know, in our own case, it was the leaders on the field that drove it on. You have to have those leaders. And Liam is right. They just didn't have those leaders in that first 10, 15 minutes. That was the crucial time. And we had discussed this at half-time, Liam and myself. The next 15 minutes, we said, is vital. And the Galway leaders had to stand up then. Unfortunately, they didn't.
But even if you look at it, Des, over the course of the 35 minutes, I mean, they got the goal in the 71st minute. They scored 4 points in that second half. And two of those came from David Collins, who came on as a sub. I mean, like, if someone had to tell me that forward line, who was, you know, getting goals at will early on the season, were really operating very, very well, scored 26 points against Tipperary. If someone had to tell me that they'd limit themselves to 2 points from that unit in the second half, I mean, it really was a capitulation.
And it is a problem for the other teams, because I'm with the lads in this. That legend is getting bigger, and they've gotten a step on everybody else over the last number of years, and that's psychological, and that whole, you know, aura is starting to build. The other teams need to step up to the mark and take them on, and you know, so I believe that's a fact. But there's one other thing and key ingredient that Kilkenny have. It's hunger. Like, it's 27 years since Galway have won an All-Ireland. Kilkenny have won 12 in that period, yet in the second half Kilkenny were hungrier today than Galway. How does that happen?
Is it just hunger, though?
It is, no, it's more than hunger.
It's more than hunger, but it's a key ingredient, Des.
Their defensive setup, we were talking about tactics, and you were saying they don't.
Yeah, like, look, you know, that talk out there that Kilkenny don't do tactics, and you know, we've heard a lot of that over the last number of years. And I just took a couple of snapshots today. Look at this. There's only 2 Kilkenny players forwards inside in the attacking half. Look at all the players they've got around the ball. And here you put it into motion. Again, we're going to pick up here the 45-yard line. How many Kilkenny players inside it? Absolutely none. Kilkenny don't do short passes, of course they do. Here's Welsh trying to pick out a man, goes wrong for him, so be it. But what Kilkenny do really well here is they know they don't have men inside, they work the ball with hand passes. Now you see some teams doing, you know, hand passing the ball to each other. They say, I'll let the ball in. There's this kind of mid out there that Kilkenny play a formation of 3-3-2, 3-3. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I'd suggest that the last 10 years Kilkenny have been playing like that. Kilkenny don't do tactics, the Pope isn't a Catholic, and Bears use B-days.
But I suppose the thing is, they can play it any way it comes. You know, if you play 6 forwards and 6 backs, they can play it that way. If you play tactically with a sweeper, they can play against that. Why can they do it? Because their level of skill is so great, their physicality is so great, and the culture in Kilkenny of their work rate is so high. You know, so how do you beat a team like that? And you know, you could argue that this is
But teams have gone close, though. Tip maybe should have beaten them last year in the drawn game. Limerick went close. Maybe that's your point, that they're not getting over the line, is it?
That's the whole thing. Many teams get close to them, but how many have beaten them? The only team that really took them on at their own game and played them at their own game, and really, I suppose, in a day outfoxed them was Tipperary in 2010. Maybe in 2009 as well. They were the two, to me, they were the 2 best finals that I've ever seen in terms of all the qualities you want to see in a big game.
Just on that, what was your game plan then? No, seriously.
It's 5 years ago now. Do you remember it? Dust it off.
No, but seriously, was it to be physical and go at them or what?
No, but I think you got to match him for physicality. And to be fair to Galway today, they matched him for long periods in that first half. And their hurling was good enough that when they got the chances, they converted them. But you got to get goals, and you got to break down. If Galway, with the crowd and the atmosphere that they created in there in Croke Park today, if they had to get the goal, the stand would have probably erupted, But in fairness to Kilkenny, they were the ones that got the goal. And if they didn't get that goal in the first half, they were hanging on for long. But they hang on, and they were on the ropes. And then they just come back, and slowly but surely. And once they get their noses in front, there's no coming back.
But you believed,
there really is no coming back.
You believed you could beat them. Galway didn't.
All right. What about one of the big talking points was, should it have been a yellow or a red for Johnny Cohen just before half-time? What's the view of each of you?
Yeah, look, for me, Des, it was a dangerous situation. It was in the first half. Referees don't like sending off players. He's bound to be conscious as to what, it'll influence the game greatly. It was a 2-on-1 situation. For me, it's a red card, no question.
Chair?
Well, it's 32 minutes gone. Galway are 3 points ahead. Everything is going really well for them. He knows if he sends off Johnny Cohen that he's going to turn the game completely. I think James took the easy way out, no question. No, there can be no question. It was very, very dangerous. No, it was very, very dangerous. Definitely a red card.
He had no arguments. I mean, to me, it was a red card. It was dangerous, and Johnny Cohen was lucky to stay on the field.
Good game for James Owens overall.
Yeah, I think I'd say he got that wrong, right?
Yeah.
We
all get something wrong.
Exactly. I actually think Galway suffered for it afterwards, especially in the first period. In the second half, he did well to cut out any in England and stop that developing. If I was giving him max out of 10, I'd give him 7 out of 10.
That's not bad.
No, I think he did well. I think James did well. Whatever, he balanced it off on both sides. There was the perception, definitely, I agree with you. There was the perception after that he didn't send off. He probably went in at half-time and they said, you got it wrong, So there's always a tendency or a temptation for a referee to make it up in the second half. But he probably did to a certain degree, but not to a decisive degree.
No, I'd agree. And I think, look, the thing you want to be with a referee is not the centre of attention. You let the game go on around you. Yeah. And I think the game went on around him, for his first final. I thought he had a good game today.
Yeah, good for him then. Yeah. Let's finish on a positive about the champions again. People said that if Galway can stop TJ Reid and Richie Hogan, they'll win it. Now, Richie, obviously injured, got 2 points. TJ only got the goal from play, but the rest of them came in.
Oh, well, you see, this today was the typical of, the real Brian Cody principles of hurling. Relentless work rate, the concept of playing for the team, ferociously contesting every ball, composure on the ball, the skill Kilkenny have, and the leaders in the time of need. All of those came to the fore today. And you see, all the forwards scored, the 2 midfielders scored, and Pádraig Walsh scored from play, wing back. So that just tells you, today was the hardest day ever to pick a man of the match. And that is only all the more reflection on the Brian Cody concept of team play.
Yeah, Des, you look at the players that are after losing, JJ, Henry, Tommy. You would have said, like Liam was saying earlier on, would that change the whole dynamic in the room? The models are changing, but the engine remains the same. Self-fueling, self-restoring, and no sign of obsolescence. Cody.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. A lot was made of Richie Hogan and TJ Reid and holding them down. TJ got the goal but got no point from play. Richie Hogan, somewhat subdued by his standards with 2 points, but Dahi Burke made a good job of him. But 12 points from the other 2 midfielders and the other 4 forwards is a massive return. And I think they really brought an edge to their play that I hadn't seen in that Kilkenny forward line right through up. But again, when the need is greatest, this Kilkenny forward line always come up trumps.
Indeed. Well done to Kilkenny, but so often this day ends up all about the winners. It's important we don't forget the massive role Galway had, not just today, but throughout the season.
And it's now all over. A brilliant score. It is an absolutely stunning, audacious shot that time by Flynn.
We were in serious striking position. We had massive chances. We had goal opportunities, and they didn't come. I suppose Kilkenny closed them down. They're an excellent team. I suppose they have massive experience in that area. When you're trying to break those guys down, when you get ahead of them, you have to stay driving. You have to stay going and picking off points that were, I suppose, crucial. When you look back at the Tipperary game, they got a goal. We came back with a few points. We didn't do that today. We weren't allowed to do that today. Kilkenny were on top of us in every part. It's the drive that's there. Galway need that,
A few enforced errors there in the second half. Maybe a couple of decisions went against us. Cyril was through there at the start of the second half, and he got pulled, he got pulled down, and just the free for some reason went the other way. And Kilkenny, with all their experience and their guile and their craft and a tremendous team, punished us.
And suddenly it is all Kilkenny. It's like they've turned on the tap after half-time, and Galway haven't really had an answer so far. The confidence levels are beginning to just ebb away and drain away now at this stage.
I talked inside there a few minutes ago to boys that are just absolutely devastated with the effort that they put in, and I suppose the drive and the intensity that they brought to it. Okay, we didn't last it for the full 70 minutes, but I think we get a great show for ourselves, and lads should be stand up and be proud, because they're a great bunch, but we've a bit to go yet,
These guys, they will stay going to the win in Ireland. It's in them. The hurling is there.
Players, I mean, the two Manions have made a massive impact. John Hanbury, Jason Flynn, he's Conor Whelan, he brought him out of the blue from an intermediate team. So, he has made great progress. I think there is a real, there's a real strong future in this team, but they've got to jump that hurdle, they've got to cross that line, and that's what they've got to go away and work on, because it's gut-wrenching when you lose a final.
All right, well, so much more to come on the programme, including man of the match, the team of the year, but right now in the Sunday game